What's up, y'all? Carolina Jackpot time. Checking in. It's Sunday evening, October the 29th, 2017. We are 2 days away from October 31st, 2017, which is Halloween night. And they are going to unveil the playoff rankings for the first time in college football. And we're going to get a look at who the committee thinks should be in the playoffs if they were to take place today. Let's see what Carolina Jackpot, this is what I think they're going to pick, and this is what I think we got going on Halloween night. And you can agree or disagree and discuss. Tell me why you feel a certain way and why you're picking who you're picking. Let's just start it off from top to bottom, shall we? Let's go. In first position, number one in the college football playoff rankings is Alabama Crimson Tide. Yeah, big surprise, huh? Alabama has a record of 7-0. They're undefeated. They have some good wins versus Vanderbilt, who they crushed 59-0. Ole Miss 66-3. Arkansas 41-9. Tennessee 45-7. The only close game that they played all year is against Texas A&M. That was a close 27-19 victory over the Aggies, who they kind of let hang around for a while. Damian Harris, Jalen Hurts, Bo Scarborough, Calvin Ridley have all played very, very well for the Crimson Tide this year. You can't say enough about the effort that Nick Saban does every year. Every year they seem to reload, seem to come back. It doesn't matter who they've lost, or it doesn't matter what the situation is. They always seem to be right there on top or in the mix. This Saturday, they got a home game against LSU. That's the primetime game. That thing's actually going to be on CBS on Saturday night. They're a 21.5-point favorite against LSU, which I think is ranked number 19 right now. Look for that to be a closer game than that spread indicates. I think the LSU is going to give them somewhat of a challenge, though I don't think they're going to beat Alabama by any stretch of the imagination. In the second position, number 2 in the college football playoff ranking, this should come as a surprise to anyone either, Georgia Bulldogs coming in at number 2. Now, many folks are going to argue that they should be number 1. And if you look at the body of work, you can kind of see that. They could be number 1. Georgia, I think, has played a tougher schedule than Alabama has, just by the virtue of the fact they did play Notre Dame on the road, which was ranked, I think, number 9 yesterday before the games in the AP poll. They beat them 20-19. Look for Notre Dame is going to move up significantly this week. So they do have the best win out of those two so far. They played a tougher schedule, just albeit by a little bit. They both have common opponents in Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Alabama actually shut out Vanderbilt 59-0. Georgia beat them, I think it was 45-14. But Georgia did shut out Tennessee 41-0. Alabama beat them 45-7. They actually did give up a touchdown to them, although it was on a pick six. Their defense didn't actually give up any points. This dog's very bored by what I'm talking about, aren't you? Anyway, quite honestly, I think Georgia may be actually the better team between these two. But the committee, I think, is going to go with Alabama just by virtue of the fact that they've been either national champions or in the mix, in the game, the national championship game the past several years. I mean, you can't take that away. Georgia's always, been kind of, a team that's we're going to be there soon, or this is our year, or we're going to do it this time. Well, this finally is their year, but they've got to They got to earn that number one ranking. They, you know, Alabama's been there. They kind of got a grip on that, in my opinion. So that's why I think they'll get the nod at number one, though I don't necessarily know that they're the best team between those two. If you get what I'm saying here, you get what I'm saying, you get what I'm leaning towards here. All right, number 3 in the playoff, Ohio State Buckeyes. Yeah, I'm disappointed a little bit yesterday, and I try to stay objective when I make these kind of videos because I'm just purely trying to cite facts. But I am a little bit disappointed that Penn State wasn't able to pull that game out yesterday. I just feel like that's a good story. Penn State's come back from being down. I mean, that's just as low as a program can be, where they were at the end of the 2011 season with all the scandal and shenanigans, all that stuff that was going on up there. It was absolutely horrible. And where they're at now is just a million miles from where that was at. Of course, nobody that's affiliated with that university anymore had anything to do with any of that stuff. And I honestly, in my opinion, and it's been an opinion of some of the people I've talked to on Facebook in the past year or so. Last year, I feel like Penn State got left out of the playoffs. I think America and the general public out there turns a dirty nose up to Penn State when they just hear the name and they think about that stuff that happened there all those years ago. That kind of thing, can have a lingering effect on you. It can have in the back of your mind, lingering effect on a program. So I, was wanting them to, just run the table and go on the field. That way they couldn't deny them. They couldn't screw them over because of something that James Franklin had no part of. No part of his organization had any part of. None of his players had any, none of that stuff. But they just weren't able to do it yesterday on the road. They let Ohio State come back and beat them. It's, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And I didn't get to see a whole hell of a lot of that game because it was on at the same time as Gamecocks and Vanderbilt. So I was just kind of flipping over there to it and keeping up with the score on my phone. And, I thought they had it in the bag. They were up by like 18. It was like 28-10 at one point. And then I looked down and and Ohio State had the lead. I'm like, are you shitting me? And they did. They did. Sure shit. And they won the game. So you're going to have to put them in there at number 3, in my opinion. They disappointed a lot of people last year by their performance. They won the Big Ten championship game and then went to the college football playoffs and absolutely laid a goose egg, literally, against Clemson. That game it wasn't close. It wasn't competitive. It was terrible. It was just an absolutely terrible showing by them. So I feel like if they're going to get there again, they are going to definitely make up for that. I think they have something to prove. And the final team in the number 4 spot that I think is going to be picked to be in the college football playoffs. Don't shoot me because I'm a messenger. I'm just being objective here. The Taters. The Tater Shits. The Clemson Tigers. Yep, that's right. They lost to Syracuse 2 weeks ago on a Friday night. I think the committee is going to kind of overlook that a little bit. Of course, they're not going to overlook it totally. They're placing them in at number 4. But the eye test. You're talking about passing the eye test. Clemson passes the eye test. They won 3 games this year against teams that were ranked inside the top 20, at least at the time they played them. Louisville, which, we see now as a total dumpster juice team. But they did beat them on the road back at the end of September in Papa John's Cardinal Stadium on Saturday night and beat them convincingly when Louisville was ranked. They beat Virginia Tech on the road, which is not an easy environment to play in. And ever since that game, Virginia Tech's been destroying people. They really have. They beat Auburn at home in the second game of the season, 14-6. That was Auburn, one of 2 losses by Auburn this year. And after that game, Auburn started destroying people. And it's like it woke them up or something. They really went out and laid the smack down on some teams in Mississippi State. They destroyed who was at Arkansas. Somebody else there they played that they just totally annihilated from the SEC West. Lost to LSU, though, on the road. Let LSU come back and beat them. So Auburn, Auburn's a team that's, they're almost there. They're almost there at top 10 step, but they're not quite that great. But that was, another impressive win by Clemson. All three of those, they've beaten all the teams they were supposed to, except for that Syracuse game. And you want to look at the nuts and bolts of it. Syracuse is not that bad of a football team. Clemson lost to Pittsburgh last year, and yet they still made the college football playoffs. And I was talking with some friends on Facebook here a while back, and I'm like, well, Syracuse is absolutely terrible. They're nothing like the Pitt team last year. But if you kind of look at it, though, Syracuse has played some decent ball. They beat Pittsburgh this year. That's a ACC coastal team. They played a close game on the road at Miami week before last and actually could have won that game. The Clemson game, of course. They played at NC State. They hung with them pretty tight for a while, but, ended up losing that game by about 10 or 11 points. Their only bad loss is a loss at home against Middle Tennessee, which is kind of an anomaly that nobody can explain that away, but I think Clemson's going to get the nod here in that fourth spot just by virtue, if nothing else, of the fact that they were national champions last year, and I think the committee is going to feel some sense of loyalty to that. So that's going to be your fourth playoff team. So they may get that rematch with Alabama if things all go as planned in the first round of the playoffs this year. That'd be the rubber match between the two, and I'd look for the Crimson Tide to take that one. But who knows? I'd like to see Clemson and Georgia going at it, but I don't know if we're going to get to see that or not. But anyway, that's my take on it. Carolina Jackpot checking out. Peace. See y'all guys later. Go Gamecocks.